What's going on, everyone? I'm Encore. This is Tomorrow Never Comes, and this video is about the two most common statements I get in opposition of supporting Bitcoin. All right, so two things people say right off the bat that, hey, I'm not into Bitcoin because. All right, what's number one? Number one is I don't believe in Bitcoin. This one always makes me laugh. I've had even that from venture capitalists, people steeped in the financial markets. You know, obviously, those close around me, friends and family, not in financial markets, have said that. And here's my response to that. Bitcoin is not a religion. It's not a belief thing. Okay? It's a mathematics issue. It's a supply and demand issue. These are concrete numbers that has nothing to do with belief. Now, where does the belief part come in is that there will be mass adoption. Okay, but if you look at the fundamentals, you know, the fact that it's borderless, I don't need anybody's permission, it's permissionless, it's censorless, and it's decentralized. I own my assets in Bitcoin, right? And nobody else has a hand in it if I choose to keep it in a cold wallet. So all these things that come into play, it's not about a belief. This isn't blind faith. Okay, this is looking at where the world is, and in terms of just, if you look at the fiat system that they can print money endlessly, I mean there's a belief system steeped there that it's, you know, the money will always be worth something regardless of how much is printed. That's a belief system. Here, there's 21 million Bitcoin, and not a single one will be mined after that. Okay, and we can get into more of the details about what makes up one Bitcoin in terms of Satoshis and all that going forward. But really, the gist of it is it's not a belief issue. Okay, do you understand mathematics? Do you understand supply and demand? And do you understand where we are in this world today, where fiat is printed endlessly? So that's number one. Okay, number two is, well, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't produce anything. So therefore, I'm out. Right? It's not like it's a company that, you know, has profit and losses. It doesn't have, you know, it's not a home that I can live in or tangibly see or feel or experience. So that's number two. And what's my response to that? What's your money worth? What is fiat worth? That paper money that you have, whether it's in your bank account, whether that's in your, you know, in your pocket, in your wallet, wherever it may be, what is the intrinsic value of your fiat dollars? Do you guys have any answers? Oh, okay, it's accepted across the board, right? So pretty much what has happened is that there's been a system put in place where everyone has decided that this is a currency that we are going to accept. Okay? Outside of that, there's no inherent or intrinsic value to paper money. Zero. There's no intrinsic value to anything usually that's assigned as this type of asset class. Right? Yeah, okay, gold, you look at gold, maybe you can melt it down and do things with it, and it has chemical properties and all that. But by and large, if you own a bar of gold, right, or gold bullion, who decides what it's worth? I mean, this is a market that kind of dictates what the price of gold is or what value it would be if you had to trade it in. So when you look at Bitcoin, what's it worth? Well, what the market decides it's worth. You know, the more adopted it becomes, the more valuable those entrenched in powerful or authoritative positions see it, whether they be countries, whether they be corporations. They will dictate what the value is, right? And you look at retailers who want to buy in, it's up to them to want to buy in at a certain price or not. So the market dictates the value. The system itself, as it's designed, will dictate where it's adopted, how much it's adopted, and based on that adoption, what the value is. Your US dollars, Canadian dollars, your pesos, your francs, whatever it is, whatever currency you have, is only worth something because the system has decided, those in collaboration with each other have decided that this is something that can be used in exchange for goods and services. And that's it. The paper itself means nothing. And so when you look at Bitcoin and all of its fundamentals that I just explained for the first question, or my response to the first question, the trustless, borderless, sensorless, permissionless, all that's built in to Bitcoin itself, that is inherent value. Owning financial assets or owning your own assets is inherently valuable. Now, when the system adopts, and I do say when, not if, now you're going to have to factor in the scarcity aspect of it. It is not endlessly printed. It's not endlessly mined. It's not forked. Nothing is done to create extra Bitcoin, like original, authentic Bitcoin, right? Nothing. So you have a cap on it. That will also bring value in terms of just price point. So 2 questions I always hear in opposition of Bitcoin, right away, is that I don't believe in it. Okay? It's not a religion. And the second question is there's no intrinsic value to Bitcoin, so I'm not going to invest in it. Okay. But you use your US dollars. You use your currency to do something. That in itself is not valuable. So these are always 2 things that I hear. And look, here's the easiest way. There's a bunch more. There's a lot of things that I hear. But here's the easiest way that I think about it. For someone who doesn't want to look into it deep enough, who doesn't want to do the research, like very basic, very simple, why should I invest in Bitcoin? Okay. Well, what is it they say? Do what the wealthy do, not what they say, right? Okay. So we've got Ray Dalio. We've got, Mark Cuban. We've got, Tim Cook from Apple. You've got Stanley Druckenmiller. You've got George Soros. You've got countries like El Salvador. You've got corporations like MicroStrategy. I mean, all these people and entities are either they have Bitcoin on their balance sheets or personally held. And when you look at the billionaires, George Soros, Stanley Druckenmiller, Jim Millers, they have zero reason to invest in an asset class that is a sham, has no value, and has no future. Okay? So at the very least, hedge your bet. You don't think this is going to be something that's worthwhile. But here are these extremely wealthy people who are very intelligent and who've been here for decades, investing and creating wealth through their investments, have not allocated a piece, if not a sizable portion. And I think Jim Miller has gone all in on Bitcoin and crypto in general, but definitely Bitcoin. And you don't wonder why? You don't think you should look into maybe having a piece just in case you are wrong and everybody else in the crypto space or Bitcoin space is correct. It's a hedge against your own bet. So that's the very basic, hey look, you don't want to do the research, look at these people who are doing it, allocate 1 to 2% of your wealth, let it ride and see what happens, okay? But in terms of it being a belief, in terms of it not being something that has inherent value, I hope I've shown you guys how insane or unfounded those comments are when saying I don't want to invest in Bitcoin. Now, this is not investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor, of course. These are my opinions, but you got to look at certain things that others say and you say, and does it make sense? And are you doing anything against? Are you doing anything currently that you could oppose the same way? Like, I don't want to use US dollar because there's no inherent value. I don't believe in the US dollar or the Canadian dollar and the current currency. Like, the same arguments would apply for what you currently use. So keep an open mind. See what other people are doing in terms of the super wealthy, and maybe mimic some of the things that they do with an amount that you are okay with. Not going all in. Not even significant if you don't feel comfortable, but just to play with and see what happens long term. If you're wrong and this turns out to be what we all know or expect it to be, That's a very big missed opportunity that's not going to come around again. All right, so I just wanted to lay those two things out. Those are two common things I hear all the time. I'll do another one where I put out some more that I hear constantly. And it's always interesting to hear. If you guys have heard comments yourself, please put it in the comment box below. And if you are one that has your own arguments against why you would invest in Bitcoin, please share that as well. I'd love to hear them. And it's never about taking this in a personal way or being defensive. I mean, that usually happens when you first get in the space. Now I'm at a point where I just want to educate. I want to hear where people stand and see kind of where they're coming from. And how do we get to a ground where I respect what you're saying, but I also want to tell you why that may be incorrect. Okay? Or may not be 100% truthful. It's just the way that you look at it that we kind of have to take a look at. So please share your comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Remember, tomorrow never comes. Take action, invest in yourself today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.